story is about a woman who loves her husband, but she cannot tolerate cheating and would rather be a widow than a divorcee. Because of this, the husband acts like a loving husband and pretends to maintain distance from other women just so he won't end up getting killed by his wife. However, behind his wife's back, the husband is secretly having an affair with another woman. In the beginning of the story, the husband is portrayed as caring. Even when other women try to get close to him, he chooses to ignore them, and whenever he goes on interviews, as he is one of the most successful divorce lawyers in the country, people question how a divorce lawyer can have such a good relationship with his wife. The husband takes us back to the time when he first fell in love with his wife, Yeju. She was a writer, and Woo-sung used to work part-time at a small hotel. He met Yeju when she came to the hotel to rent a room because she wanted a quiet, spooky room to give her ideas for writing. She was apparently famous for writing dramas revolving around cheating and husbands getting killed by their wives. She loved those kinds of endings in her stories. Despite this, Woo-sung found Yeju attractive, and one day, while asking for her autograph, he asked her out on a date. After that, they fell in love and got married. Ever since that day, Woo-sung has been a loving husband, or at least he has been successful in hiding his affairs. Apparently, the woman interviewing Woo-sung, Soo-jung, is a friend turned enemy of Yeju. Soo-jung wants revenge against Yeju and tries to seduce Woo-sung. She invites him to dinner, but Woo-sung pretends to ignore her and claims he has to go home to meet his loving wife. After that, he meets another female lawyer, Park, who was defending her cheating male client. However, Woo-sung presents solid proof that her client had cheated on his wife with another young, pretty girl and ends up forcing lawyer Park to advise her client to pay alimony to his wife. Lawyer Park is impressed by him and asks Woo-sung out on a date, but Woo-sung claims he already has a date planned with his wife at home. After rejecting the female lawyer, Woo-sung secretly arrives at a hotel and meets lawyer Park in a private room. After spending some time with her, the woman asks Woo-sung to meet her the next Wednesday, but this is when we learn that this rascal husband already has another date fixed with the news anchor Soo-jung at her apartment. After enjoying his time with lawyer Park, he gets to his car, where he removes all kinds of evidence, such as the scent of Park's perfume and the hair stuck to his coat, so his wife won't catch him cheating. While Yeju was attending a press conference, she was not in the mood to answer any questions because she was thinking about whether her husband was cheating on her or not. Suddenly, a bunch of religious people barged into the press conference because Yeju had criticized the church in her previous novel, and now they wanted revenge against her. A guy named Suho became Yeju's shield when the people threw eggs at her. He could not bear to see Yeju being egged like that, so he grabbed her in his arms and fled from the conference. Later, we see that Suho is a rich guy who secretly has a crush on Yeju, and this is why he works at a convenience store just to see her. Later, when Woo-sung arrives back home and meets an angry Yeju, he suspects that she has found out about his affair, but he learns that she is just angry about what happened at the press conference. However, what Woo-sung has forgotten is that he still has a lipstick mark on the back of his white shirt, something Yeju notices but pretends she did not. When Woo-sung takes off his shirt, he sees the lipstick mark and becomes scared. Yeju arrives and asks him to give her the shirt so she can wash it, but Woo-sung knows that if Yeju sees the lipstick mark, he will be dead meat in seconds. So, he distracts Yeju and takes the opportunity to replace the shirt with another one from his wardrobe. Yeju becomes suspicious and starts to smell him, but Woo-sung is sure he used the same shampoo he has at home, so Yeju cannot detect any unfamiliar scent on him. Because of this, Woo-sung survives one more day. Later that night, Yeju starts cooking on her own, which makes Woo-sung worried since she never cooks. This time, however, it is special because Yeju has invited someone over. Apparently, Woo-sung learns that the guest is actually Soo-jung, the woman he is having an affair with. Soo-jung is Yeju's friend. When Soo-jung gives Yeju a perfume as a gift, Woo-sung becomes surprised since this is the perfume he had given to Soo-jung as a gift because it is the same perfume Yeju uses. As Yeju prepares dinner, Woo-sung watches her with fear of getting caught and ending up the same as the chicken they are about to eat. While Yeju cooks, she asks Woo-sung to give Soo-jung a tour of the house. Woo-sung takes her to the lawn area and asks her reason for being there, but Soo-jung claims she is there to meet Yeju. As they move on to the bedroom, Soo-jung finds that every gift Woo-sung has given her is also used by Yeju. He did this so Yeju wouldn't catch another woman's scent on him and discover his affairs. Soo-jung hugs him and wants him, but Woo-sung suddenly takes off his shirt and uses a tape roller on it so he doesn't smell like Soo-jung. During dinner, Soo-jung puts her hand on Woo-sung's leg under the table, which makes him scared because he doesn't want to get caught, so he pokes her hand with a fork. This makes Soo-jung angry, so she asks Woo-sung for more wine. Woo-sung is forced to leave them alone and get the wine, but he cleverly pretends he doesn't know where it is, causing Yeju to go get the wine instead. Soo-jung then threatens Woo-sung and tells him to meet her the next morning at Unit 1820 in the shopping mall. Woo-sung has no choice, so the next morning, while jogging, he goes to Unit 1820, but surprisingly, Soo-jung is not there yet. This frightens him, so he tries to get rid of every piece of evidence of ever being involved with other women. He changes his SIM card, deletes all dashcam footage and navigation history, and then discards all the perfume and shampoo he carries with him. After that, he meets with a political consultant. Since Woo-sung is famous for being the most devoted and loyal husband in the country, a political party wants to run him as an assemblyman. This makes Woo-sung happy. He returns home, but there he finds a printer running on its own. As he grabs one of the printed pages, he reads that if he ever cheats on Yeju, he dies. This takes Woo-sung back to a flashback when he had prepared to propose to Yeju for marriage, but she rejected him. She pointed out how she noticed that Woo-sung was wearing shoes likely given to him by a 20-year-old girl he was cheating on her with. Because of this, Yeju rejected him and refused to marry him. After 3 months, we see Woo-sung attending his friend Jin-ho's wedding, but Woo-sung is not happy since he feels heartbroken by Yeju. However, when Woo-sung sees Yeju at the wedding, he approaches her and gives her a written will stating that he will die if he ever cheats on her. Yeju is surprised that Woo-sung is willingly offering his life to her, so she agrees to marry him. Back in the present, this is the same will Woo-sung had written for Yeju. At the same time, Yeju is lurking in the shadows, holding a sharp knife. She suddenly rushes forward and stabs him with the knife, but we soon discover that it is a fake knife and that she was just creating a scene for her next novel and wanted a realistic experience. The next morning, Woo-sung learns that Soo-jung has gone missing and didn't even show up for her morning TV program. However, he doesn't pay much attention to it and goes to a university to give a lecture to students, where he meets a pretty girl named Mary. Mary is beautiful, and Woo-sung immediately falls for her, but he worries that he may get in trouble if he gets caught having an affair with a college student and may never become an assemblyman, so he chooses to ignore her. When Woo-sung drops his pen, Mary picks it up and approaches him, but Woo-sung runs away from her, which leaves Mary a bit confused. At the same time, Soo-ho applies to become Yeju's personal assistant, but Yeju becomes confused about why Soo-ho wants to work when he is already rich. Soo-ho pretends to be shocked, so Yeju points out that he is wearing a limited edition watch that looks simple, has used very luxurious soap and shampoo, and is wearing an expensive white t-shirt. Apart from that, Yeju also notices a knife scar on Soo-ho's hand, which makes her think he is not the kind of man he is pretending to be, so she asks him to leave. However, Soo-ho claims he can be useful to her. He teaches her the right ways to stab someone so she won't make mistakes while writing her novels. Because of this, Yeju finally agrees to hire Soo-ho. Soo-ho then returns to his apartment and starts stalking Yeju's house through a telescope, giving us a hint that he is watching her because he suspects her of something. At the same time, Woo-sung's friend Jin-ho's wife becomes suspicious when she sees that Jin-ho used a credit card to spend $500, which makes her suspect that Jin-ho is cheating on her. She calls the bank and learns that the money was spent at a hotel. She goes to the hotel to learn more, but the staff refuse to provide any details without a police warrant. She becomes sad, thinking Jin-ho is cheating on her. Her 5-year-old son then says something she didn't expect. He says that she should have married a rich guy like Woo-sung instead of Jin-ho, who struggles to make money and forces them to live on a tight budget. Later, when Jin-ho returns home drunk, he hands her an envelope containing money. This reveals that Jin-ho had lent his card to Woo-sung, and Woo-sung had given him cash in return. After learning the truth, Jin-ho's wife becomes happy that she didn't make a bad choice when she chose Jin-ho over a rich man because Jin-ho is a loyal husband. At the same time, 2 detectives named Cheol and Se-jin are investigating the disappearance of Soo-jung. They learn from a convenience store manager that she was seen having an argument with a woman while talking about divorce. Since she couldn't discuss it over the phone, she went to meet the woman at a cafe. The detectives ask around at every nearby cafe and eventually find the one where Soo-jung met with the other woman. They check the CCTV footage but cannot see the other woman's face because she cleverly hid herself. However, they do notice that the woman was spinning something in her fingers that looked like a pen. Meanwhile, Yeju is sitting silently in her house, spinning a pen in a similar way. Her maid, Ms. Young, goes to clean the basement and finds traces of red liquid near the refrigerator. She becomes surprised, and when she opens the refrigerator, she is shocked by what she finds inside. However, she pretends that she never saw it. While Mary is unable to throw away the pen since she thinks it probably means a lot to Woo-sung, she wants to return it, so she packs it in a nice gift box. Then she goes to Woo-sung's law firm, where she meets Jin-ho. She hands the box to him, and asks him to give it to Woo-sung. Yeju also arrives at the law firm to meet Woo-sung and sees Mary leaving. As Yeju enters the room and sees Jin-ho there, Jin-ho quickly hides the gift box so his friend Woo-sung won't get caught. However, Yeju thinks Jin-ho is cheating on his wife with the young girl, Mary. After having lunch with Woo-sung at a restaurant, Yeju returns to her house, where the maid suggests that she should throw away the broken refrigerator in the basement. However, Yeju wants to keep it there. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by the news of the famous anchor Soo-jung going missing. Woo-sung sees the news and gets worried since he recently went to Soo-jung's studio apartment, and the CCTV might have captured him. When he arrives there, he finds that detectives Cheol and Se-jin are already investigating investigating the scene. They want the CCTV footage, but the manager refuses to provide it unless they come with a warrant. Later, Yeju also shows up at Soo-young's studio apartment to have a look at the crime scene. Since Yeju has already been useful to the cops in other crime mysteries, they let her inside. There, Yeju examines the room and comes to the conclusion that the first person who reported the crime, Soo-young's manager, could be the prime suspect. She notices that one of Soo-young's award trophies is missing, particularly the biggest one, which the manager could have used to smash Soo-young's head. However, the detectives don't believe her. When Cheol calls the manager, he learns that the manager has also gone missing, as he doesn't even answer Cheol's phone calls. At the same time, Soo-ho also becomes suspicious of Yeju since he had seen her meeting with Soo-jung in a cafe a few days ago. He goes to Yeju's basement and checks what is inside the refrigerator. Apparently, instead of a dead body, there are only dozens of copies of the first novel she wrote about a church. As he looks around, he also finds some blood stuck to the floor and the refrigerator. Later, Woo-sung returns to his house and finds Yeju cooking once again, which makes him believe something has happened. Yeju tells Woo-sung how she went to investigate Soo-young's studio apartment since she was worried about why Soo-jung had gone missing. She tried to watch the CCTV footage to catch the culprit, but apparently the manager told them that the hard drive got a virus and all the footage was deleted. Just in the next moment, Woo-sung receives a message from an unknown number. Attached is a picture from the CCTV footage showing Woo-sung entering Soo-young's studio apartment. He receives a call from the sender, who turns out to be the security manager of the apartment building. The manager already knows Woo-sung and now demands $50,000 to keep his mouth shut and delete the footage. Woo-sung pretends to remain calm around Yeju, but she can already tell that he looks as if someone is asking him for money. However, Woo-sung cannot tell her the truth. Woo-sung quickly starts gathering funds he had hidden for emergencies, but even then, he only manages to collect $5,000. Since he doesn't have the required amount, he comes up with a stupid plan to record the manager blackmailing him, and use the recording to force him to delete the footage. However, the plan fails when the security manager doesn't show up. Yeju heads to meet the detectives. The detectives learn from a neighbor living next to Soo-young's studio apartment that one morning, a large man came and dragged her away. Yeju concludes that the man is none other than Soo-young's manager. She wants to tag along with the detectives, but Cheol becomes annoyed by her attitude. All of them head to the manager's house, where Cheol once again gets annoyed when Yeju claims she knows how to open the door. He tries to open it himself but fails. Yeju quickly figures out that the manager had hidden the key under a dried-up flower pot outside the house and manages to open the door without breaking anything. Inside the house, they find Soo-young's photos stuck all over the walls. There, Sejin notices a photo album where Soo-jung is seen with Woo-sung, but her behavior seems a bit different compared to the other photo albums because, in the pictures with Woo-sung, Soo-young's head is tilted toward him. Before they can come to a conclusion, Yeju finds the heavy trophy inside the manager's house. After this, the detectives become suspicious about why Yeju is so eagerly helping them with this case. They head to Soo-jung's studio, where her sponsor reveals that she saw Soo-jung trying to seduce Woo-sung. However, since Woo-sung is known as the nation's loyal and kind-hearted husband, he completely ignored her advances. The detectives are shocked when they learn that Woo-sung is actually Yeju's husband, which makes them suspicious of her. Later that night, Soo-ho goes to buy some cheap soap, shampoo, and beer from a convenience store. While heading back home, he runs into an NIS officer named Jian, who has also been assigned to keep an eye on Yeju. As they argue, they suddenly spot Yeju driving somewhere late at night. They follow her, but because a truck cuts in between them, they lose sight of her. As they try to find her again, they eventually spot Yeju's car returning home. Thanks to the route shown on the map, they come to the conclusion that Yeju might have gone to a graveyard to hide a body since the police cannot easily dig up graves without proper authorization. After that, Soo-ho goes to report what he saw to the chief of the National Intelligence Service, Mr. Dong. When Mr. Dong learns that Soo-ho suspects Yeju might be involved in Soo-jung's murder and that she is only helping the police to cover it up and frame the manager, he is surprised. However, Chief Dong orders Soo-ho to erase every trace and piece of evidence that might lead the police toward Yeju and does not explain why Yeju is important enough to receive such treatment. Soo-ho does as he is told and instructs his junior, Jian, to find and erase any CCTV and dashcam footage from the nearby area that could point to Yeju's involvement in Soo-jung's disappearance. A little while later, the detectives decide to gather all the CCTV and dashcam footage from around the apartment building. Meanwhile, Woo-sung is on a mission to portray himself as a good person and volunteers to help clean garbage from the river. While doing so, Woo-sung notices that the scuba diver helping them remove trash from the river is the pretty girl he saw at the university, Mary. Distracted by her presence, Woo-sung loses his balance on the boat and falls into the water. Unable to swim properly, he starts drowning. Mary cannot let him die, so she dives deeper into the water to save him. Since Woo-sung is out of breath, Mary gives him oxygen by kissing him underwater. and then takes him out to the shore where others find him and take him to the hospital. Soon at the hospital, Yeju shows up, but she becomes relaxed after seeing Woo-sung is totally fine. As they were leaving, a nurse returns their left behind books, which makes Yeju suspicious since the books did not belong to her. Yeju could already tell the owner was a female university art student by looking at the books and how they were kept. Woo-sung lies that they belong to a girl who came with his political lawyer and that he has nothing to do with the girl. Later, we see that Detective Se-jin finds Detective Cheol acting weird around Yeju and suspects something is going on between them. Cheol remembers how he used to work as a traffic police officer when one day he happened to stop senior NIS officer Mr. Dong at a checkpoint. There, Cheol found Soo-jung tied up in the back of Mr. Dong's car, which surprised him, but he didn't stop and forced Mr. Dong to free Soo-jung. However, he doesn't explain that to Se-jin and keeps it a secret. After that, they head to the same river where Woo-sung was cleaning early that morning. Apparently, a reporter has found a floating lifeless body of a woman in the river. Shockingly, the floating lifeless body is Soo-jung, the woman they have been searching for all this time. When Woo-sung sees the lifeless body of Soo-jung, he becomes shocked. While Yeju tries to convince Cheol to let her be a part of the investigation, Cheol gets angry and suspects Yeju has some ties to Soo-jung. But Yeju claims it is actually Cheol who has a connection to Soo-jung, which makes Cheol go silent. When the detectives refuse to let her tag along with them, Yeju threatens to tell the reporters all that she has discovered about this case and everyone related to Soo-jung. The detectives don't want that to happen, so they agree to let her tag along until the post-mortem is done. During the post-mortem, we learn that Soo-jung was initially hit on the head with a heavy object that made her lose consciousness. Then she was stabbed multiple times in the back. The injury on Soo-jung's head indicates that Yeju was right. Soo-jung was hit with the trophy on her head. But right after the post-mortem, the detectives become annoyed with Yeju and ask her to never bother them again. Yeju agrees and leaves, but before leaving, she claims to know something crucial that could lead them to the real culprit. She refuses to tell them and leaves, which makes them even angrier. While at the same time, Suho wants to dig up the graveyard and learn if Yeju had hidden a body there. Their specialized dog finds a scent underneath the ground. They dig for hours but find nothing and give up. However, Suho notices a dead plant underneath the surface, which gives him a clue that someone had dug there previously. He then returns home where he finds his boss, Mr. Dong, waiting for him. Mr. Dong has learned that Suho is still trying to find clues linking Yeju to the murder case. Mr. Dong laughs and warns him that he is playing with fire that will burn him alive, but Suho doesn't listen. He then starts stalking Yeju with the telescope and sees her returning home with her husband, but he becomes surprised when he sees the two fighting. Yeju seems to be angry at Woo-sung for something and refuses to listen to him, while at the same time, a realization comes to Se-jin's mind when she recalls that she saw Yeju spinning the pen in a similar way to the unknown person at the cafe spinning the pen. They watch the cafe's CCTV footage again. Although the footage is blurry, Se-jin can tell the person is spinning the pen oddly. A normal person would spin the pen between their index and middle finger, but in this video, the person seems to be using their middle and ring fingers, which matches Yeju's habit. Later that night, the cops find the security manager unconscious near the roadway. They take him to the hospital and learn he is still alive. As the sun rises, Woo-sung wakes up and finds Yeju angry with him. She doesn't want to talk to him, which makes him confused. He talks to Jin-ho and learns that Yeju is upset with him. Jin-ho suspects Woo-sung might have told Yeju about his affair when he was drunk, but Woo-sung doesn't recall admitting anything about his affair. Soon he receives a call from Miri. She wants her bag and books back, but Woo-sung doesn't remember where he kept them. He calls home to the housemaid and has her look for them, but Yeju arrives and cuts the phone call. This is when we learn that Woo-sung had apparently vomited in her car and used Miri's bag as a polythene bag. Surprisingly, Miri's bag was worth over $2,000 and is now covered in vomit. After that, detectives Cheol and Se-jin show up. They take Woo-sung for questioning as they suspect Yeju took revenge against Soo-jung for having an affair with her husband, Woo-sung. Yeju claims it was probably one-sided by Soo-jung and that her husband did not have those feelings for Soo-jung, but she does admit she invited Soo-jung once to her house for a meal to see their reaction. Se-jin claims she has also met Soo-jung somewhere else and shows footage of Yeju spinning the pen in the cafe, which makes her speechless for a moment. But she comes up with an excuse that she was just having a discussion about the dress she was going to wear to the award function. Cheol becomes mad and suspects it might actually be Yeju's since they have also found another blood type A on the trophy, and Yeju has blood type A. While at the same time, Woo-sung receives a phone call from an unknown number. He picks up and finds out it's the manager. The manager is calling Woo-sung from a telephone booth. He claims Woo-sung first killed Soo-jung and then sent men to kill the manager too. He is angry and wants to report him to the police. Meanwhile, Yeju claims nearly 40% of the world's population has blood type A, which doesn't prove she is guilty, so she grabs her bag and leaves. But when the detectives see Woo-sung with Yeju, something strikes Se-jin. She recalls that the security guard at the building claimed he saw a handsome man entering room 1820, owned by Soo-jung. Woo-sung, on the other hand, takes Yeju out for dinner since it's their wedding anniversary. There, Woo-sung slowly tries to confess to Yeju that he was meeting someone behind her back, but before Woo-sung could confess it was Soo-jung, Yeju interrupts him and stops him from confessing. Meanwhile, the security manager reaches his CCTV room and finds the pen drive where he had stored the CCTV footage is missing. Suddenly, something begins to happen to him, and he collapses on the floor. Meanwhile, detectives Cheol and Se-jin rent a room and watch all the CCTV footage. They come across a clip where they see Woo-sung secretly getting inside the building in a black sweatsuit. While at the same time, NIS officer Jian barges inside Suho's house and shows him CCTV footage of Woo-sung getting inside the convenience store to get some water. The interesting part is that Woo-sung takes 1.5 hours to get out of the store, which makes Suho believe Woo-sung is cheating on Yeju with another woman. But when the next morning Suho goes to Yeju's house, he finds Yeju and Woo-sung behaving like a normal couple, which makes him worried whether Yeju even knows her husband is cheating on her. He still suspects Yeju is the real culprit behind Soo-jung's murder. She killed her for revenge, then for some days hid her body in her basement in a fridge, afterwards took the body to the graveyard, and then moved it to the river. But Jian doesn't think a woman of Yeju's age would go to this length, first digging her grave and then taking it out to throw it in the Han River. Jian later calls Mr. Dong and tells him that Suho has almost figured out that the body was moved from the grave to the river. Now Mr. Dong says he should get rid of Suho or Yeju to put an end to this, while at the same time, Yeju finds her fridge empty. She questions the maid, Miss Yeom, about where her book is, but Miss Yeom claims she threw it away because she can't tolerate Yeju continuing to write that book about the church. The next day, Miri arrives at Woo-sung's office to collect her expensive bag but instead gets a cheap low-quality bag as a replacement. She doesn't fight and gets out of the office and meets Woo-sung. Woo-sung offers her a ride. As Miri smells the odd smell of vomit, she becomes uncomfortable and uses her own perfume in the car. Miri lies that she is getting late for work and gets out at a luxurious hotel, but it turns out Miri is not poor but actually owns the hotel. Soon a Rolls-Royce comes to pick her up, but despite being this wealthy, she refuses to throw away Woo-sung's cheap gifted bag. While at the same time, Yeju smells a similar scent from the trash bin. She checks and finds a gift box. Inside is a letter telling the receiver that they had forgotten the item in the hall. But what strikes Yeju the most is the scent coming from it, which matches the perfume she smelled on Miri when she passed by her in Woo-sung's office. But apparently, Yeju doesn't believe Woo-sung has the audacity to cheat on her, so she forms a hypothesis that Woo-sung may have received the box from Jin-ho. While at the same time, the detectives learn that before passing out, the security manager confessed to seeing Soo-jung's body buried in a grave. He also confessed that it was Woo-sung who ordered his kidnapping. The detectives meet the security manager's assistant to get the footage, but the assistant claims that right after the manager left his job, she received a call from his wife asking for all of his belongings, including a pen drive. After that, the detectives go to the ICU to make the manager confess who was really behind the murder and kidnapping. First, Se-jin shows him a picture of Soo-jung's personal manager. The security manager confirms that it was him who kidnapped him, but he also claims he saw a woman. Before he could reveal who it was, he starts losing his breath. While at the same time, Yeju takes Suho and her production team out for dinner. When the producer asks her to reveal her next story project, Yeju starts telling the story of a famous TV celebrity who vanished one night. When the police suspected her manager, the manager also went missing. To keep one secret hidden, others started disappearing as well. But strangely, Yeju claims all of these people disappeared just to protect the secret of a church's hidden room, which makes the producer mad. She fears the people of the church will once again protest against it, and refuses to publish the story. But Yeju doesn't care since she has offers from other agencies. Later, the detectives arrive at Woo-sung's law firm and question him about whether he has any relationship with Soo-jung. However, Woo-sung claims that he only knew Soo-jung through work and nothing more. The detectives then take him to the building so the watchman can identify whether he was the man who came out of Unit 1820. But before coming there, Woo-sung had met with his political lawyer, who advised him on what to do and say in front of the watchman. Woo-sung greets the watchman, as he personally knows him, and corrects him by saying that he saw him coming out of Unit 1920, not 1820. Woo-sung lies that he goes to Unit 1920 twice a week to take Pilates classes. As the detectives arrive at Unit 1920, a woman comes out looking shocked, but then pretends to recognize Woo-sung and tells the police that he takes Pilates classes from her twice a week. After fooling the detectives, Woo-sung returns home and meets Yeju. There, he notices the gift box given by Miri but stays calm and doesn't show any signs of suspicion, which makes Yeju believe that the box truly belonged to Jin-ho. Right then, Yeju receives a call from the manager. This is when we learn that Yeju had threatened the manager to move to the Philippines and hide there. At the same time, Mr. Dong meets with his secret hunter officer. He is furious that the hunter officer is not doing his job properly. He gives him one more chance and tells him to bring the manager back from the Philippines, dead or alive, before Yeju does anything. This whole scene once again indicates that Yeju has left an influence in her past that scares even the chief of a secret service agency. Back at home, Yeju notices a long hair on Woo-sung's shirt. She grabs him and forcibly takes off his shirt, claiming that she needs to wash it. Before Yeju could leave, Woo-sung's phone rings. His heart starts racing as he picks up the call. On the other end, Miri is speaking. Woo-sung acts normally, and Yeju leaves. He then resumes the call and learns that Miri has invited him to her school festival as the chief guest. While at the same time, Yeju brings out all of her equipment and uses a microscope to examine the strand of hair. As she analyzes it, expecting it to belong to a middle-aged depressed woman, she instead learns that the hair actually belongs to herself. But she is not done yet. She returns to her car and checks again. There, she finds another hair on the passenger seat. While at the same time, Woo-sung goes to Yeju's study room and searches around. There, he finds a liquid called ACP, which is used to detect traces of sperm on objects, and realizes that Yeju is suspecting him of having an affair. But he is sure that he has already cleaned the car, deleted all recent dashcam footage and navigation history, and even left a small handkerchief as a gift for Yeju. Yeju finds everything too perfect to be real and realizes that Woo-sung is slowly removing all of his evidence. The next morning, the autopsy reports arrive, and the doctors inform detectives Cheol and Sejin that Soo-jung died from a fatal stab wound to the back of her neck. But what is even stranger is that they found termites in her stomach, which should not be possible if she had originally been dumped in the river, because termites usually live underground. While at the same time, Soo-ho reports the same findings to his boss, Mr. Dong. Mr. Dong can immediately tell that the culprit is an amateur since he tried to stab Soo-jung multiple times even after already hitting a vital spot. Woo-sung then reports that the doctor also found termites in her stomach and suggests that the body was buried underground before later being moved to the Han River. But this makes Mr. Dong angry. He warns Woo-sung not to look for evidence against Yeju and to only keep an eye on her. While at the same time, Miri is slowly developing feelings for Woo-sung. She digs further into his life and learns that despite being known as the nation's loyal husband, Woo-sung married a woman who doesn't value him. Woo-sung does all the cooking and cleaning at home while also working as a lawyer. But his wife has even made him sign away his physical rights in the event that he cheats on her, which causes Yeju to appear controlling from Miri's perspective. As a result, Miri begins to believe that Woo-sung deserves someone better. Soo-ho also starts digging into Yeju's background and questions the former spies who used to watch her. One of them reveals that he attended her wedding, and the strange part was that no one from the bride's side attended the ceremony. As he meets another spy, Woo-sung asks if he knows about a book called Secret Prayer Room. The spy tells him that everyone knows about the book, but no one has ever seen or read it, as if it never existed. But the spy also claims that his friend must know about it since he was assigned to spy on her a long time ago, and his name is Dong. Woo-sung becomes surprised to hear Chief Dong's name. The spy is surprised that his friend has already become a chief now and regrets leaving his team. Soo-ho now thinks about digging further into the case and talking to Mr. Dong, but he doesn't know that Mr. Dong's spy is already watching his every move. After that, Mr. Dong goes to report to his higher-ups. The old man is angry that Soo-ho is digging into Yeju's past, which makes him nervous. He orders Mr. Dong to replace Soo-ho, but Mr. Dong points out that it will be difficult for them to get close to Yeju again if they replace him with someone else. While at the same time, Woo-sung goes to the university to attend the festival, but Lawyer Park also shows up since she is his political opponent. Suddenly, Miri approaches Woo-sung and takes him aside to talk. Apparently, Woo-sung lied to the reporters by claiming that he was the one who saved Miri from drowning, so she asks Woo-sung to stop the reporters from publishing it. During his speech, he thinks about thanking the person who saved him from the Han River. He slowly approaches Miri, who is standing behind the posters, but suddenly turns toward his political manager and gives him credit for saving his life from the Han River so that Miri won't be exposed to the public. This kind gesture makes Miri fall for Woo-sung even more. Meanwhile, detectives Cheol and Sejin are worried and want to know if the security manager really saw Soo-jung's body in a grave. They head to the location where the police found the security manager. As they move up the mountain, they find a graveyard. They talk to the graveyard watchman and learn that he recently saw a man dressed in black running away from something, but he could not clearly see his face. That night, Woo-sung returns home, and Miri sends him a message apologizing for getting angry at him at the university. Woo-sung immediately deletes the message, but Yeju is standing right outside his car in the parking area. She wants to switch back to their original cars and even tells Woo-sung that she has replaced the old dashcam with a new infrared camera. That is not all she changed in the car. She also placed a hidden camera and a GPS tracker inside it. After that, she wastes no time and quickly gets into her car to search for clues. She finds a long hair on the back passenger seat but keeps it hidden from Woo-sung. Meanwhile, Suho returns home and finds another spy in his house. They sit down and talk, and the man agrees to tell him what he knows about Yeju. The agent claims that he was assigned to spy on Yeju 10 years ago. He used to gather clues about her novels and report them to his superiors. He noticed that Yeju wasn't interested in romance stories like most women. Instead, she was always writing thriller stories revolving around cheating and murder. One day, the agent even found poison in her trash bin, which she was supposedly going to use on her boyfriend, Woo-sung, but the boyfriend ended up marrying her instead. Suho is shocked when the agent hints that Woo-sung wasn't her first husband, but the agent refuses to elaborate. At the same time, Mr. Dong sends his secret hunter agent to the Philippines to retrieve a pen drive from Soo-jung's manager. However, he learns that the manager has already escaped along with the pen drive. Apparently, the pen drive contains proof of who the real murderer of Soo-jung is. The manager returns to Korea on a cargo ship, while Cheol and Sejin are trying to find evidence that Yeju moved the body from the graveyard to the Han River. Cheol then receives a call from Soo-jung's manager. Meanwhile, Woo-sung goes to paint a mural, but there he meets Mary. She becomes shocked and accidentally ruins her mural because she had painted the moment when Woo-sung fell into the Han River. At the same time, a spy takes several photos of Woo-sung and Miri together before running away. Since Woo-sung's shoes are ruined by paint, he goes to buy a new pair that looks exactly the same. However, he doesn't want Yeju to suspect him, so he scuffs up the new shoes to make them look worn. Later, someone sends Yeju a burned wedding invitation card. The card takes her back to a memory from 9 years ago when she tried to invite her wealthy businessman father to her wedding and introduce him to her future husband, but her father did not have enough time for her. At the same time, we see Mr. Dong holding a box containing an engagement ring as he recalls lying helplessly in a hospital bed. This scene hints that Mr. Dong has a tragic past somehow connected to Yeju. Later that day, Miri decides to buy Woo-sung new shoes and goes to his office to personally give them to him. As Jin-ho leaves to make coffee for Miri, Yeju suddenly arrives at the office. Jin-ho becomes frightened and starts shouting Yeju's name to warn Woo-sung. Woo-sung quickly grabs Miri's hand and hides her before Yeju can see her. However, Yeju can smell the same luxurious perfume and notices the gift box containing the shoes. Woo-sung claims that he bought them himself, but the shoes are larger because Miri didn't know his exact size. This gives him an excuse to lie, saying that he bought a larger size because his feet sometimes swell. Woo-sung takes Yeju outside, but Miri is confused about why she is hiding when she has done nothing wrong. Suddenly, the door opens, and Yeju sees Miri hiding inside. And that's where this video ends. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.